Hello again, my name is Diane and I design and make patchwork quilts, and I have been asked on a number of occasions if I sell patterns to go with the quilts that I've shown on YouTube. Well, I don't use a pattern. This is my pattern. I design a quilt and then I make it from here. If you look closely, you'll see that I use squared paper, and for this quilt, the Bee Quilt, every square represents 3 inches, a 3-inch piece of fabric before it's sewn. And bearing that in mind, I will try and explain how I made this quilt and give you some sizes, and we'll see how it goes. So this is for Janet and Merle, and I said I'd give it a bash, so here we go. Now the only way I think I could tackle this endeavour is to create chapters on the video so that you can have a look at specific areas. And so the first area I'm going to look at is this central square, and we'll call that one the sunflower block. Chapter 1. If you think of it as having A, B, C, D, so A is the centre block and then it radiates out, and we'll work our way around that because it looks quite complicated when you see the whole thing. So first of all, we'll look at block A. These are 3-inch half square triangles on the side surrounding a 5.5-inch square, and in the corners there are some 4 patches. Now the 4 patches were 1 3/4 inch squares, and you put them together they make a 3-inch square. So it's just a variable star with the pale yellow on the inside, pale yellow where the points meet, and then 2 white squares and a blue. So that is the first step. And now we're going to surround A with B, and this is the B block. Really all it is, 2 outside 3-inch squares of yellow, and then you've got this 4 blocks that are 3 inches deep, and there's a little bit of difference in those. So you can see we'll call that B1, and it fits there in the centre, so that fits on the top of these points here. And the way I've constructed that is the centre part is 5.5 inches wide. So if you take 2 strips of fabric that are 1 3/4 inches deep and 3 inches wide, and join those, that's the centre part here, and then it has 2 little blocks 1 3/4 inch squares on each side, so that fits there. And then we have a patch outside of that which is a 3-inch square when it's finished, but it's really just 2 1 3/4 inch squares, a blue and a yellow, with a 1 3/4 inch wide strip which is 3 inches long. So it makes that block, and you put that around each side, and that creates B. Now if we look at the row that surrounds B, this is all 3-inch half square triangles, so there's no smaller blocks in this one. And you can see this is the way it's laid out. There are 4 cornerstones, and then we have these yellow and green that fit together here. So you need 16 yellow and green half square triangles, and then you need 8 green and light green half square triangles, and the light green just fit there. They're all following the same direction coming out from that point, but you've got these pale green in the corners here. So that is C. And then we do D on the outside, and this is the final ring around to create that central block. When it's finished, when this is put together, it's 25.5 inches square. So you'll need 3 blocks, either solid 3 inches or in half square triangles of the blue fabric. You want 4 of those sets. You want 8 half square triangles of green and the Waggle Dance colour. Then you want another 8 of green and sky blue, and then you want 8 of the paler green and sky blue. And this is D. So you can see you have the Waggle Dance fitting together in triangles here, so that takes up those. And then on the outside you have this pale green, And then you have that blue sky block in the corner. And you can choose how to do that. I mean, you might choose to do a 3" by 5.5" strip and 1 square. It's up to you. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. So that is the end of chapter 1. So for chapter 2, we'll look at this little flower. And I'm calling this the Buttercup flower. And they look like that. Again, there are 3" squares, half square triangles, or you can use just 3" squares of fabric. There are some half square triangles in here in 1 3/4 inches again. So when this is constructed, when it's finished, it's a 15.5" block. And we'll start off again in the centre with A, and that is 3 half square triangles in blue and yellow, and they just come together to form that shape. And then this part looks more complicated than it is. It's quite simple really. You take 2 of the yellow 3" squares and you snowball just the top corners. I measured 1.5 inches down and snowballed up, left enough fabric at the top, make sure there was a 1/4 inch seam left. So I used white at the top. And once you've snowballed those corners, you join those 2 blocks together so that they look like this. 2 little peaks, white peaks at the top. So they are 3 inches deep and they are 5.5 inches wide. And you need 4 of those, and they fit on the top, the bottom and each side. And now we're back to 1 3/4 inch half square triangles. So we take a blue and a white, 2 blue and whites, we join them together to create a peak. So that gives you a little block that is 1 3/4 inch deep, 3 inches wide, and we put 2 of those together and they fit on top of the yellow peaks. So you add a strip of 1 3/4 inch wide blue fabric, which is 5.5 inches long. And you sew these together and you form that little block there. So that's 5.5 inches square. And now you want to look at the corners. You have 4 half square triangles in 2 shades of green, and you will need to sew them and set them aside. With 2 of them, you're going to create the cornerstones. So again, you can use 5.5 inches wide by 3 inches deep if you want a strip, and then just a square 3-inch strip to go with that. So you need 2 of those opposite corners, and then in the other corners we're going to start introducing the Waggle Dance. So we've got the brown, so you need to have 2 blue sky and Waggle Dance colour. So if you imagine this corner here is the outside corner of each corner of the quilt. So this is the furthest corner away, and so you have a Waggle Dance that is running along that side, and then a Waggle Dance running along that side. So they're opposite corners again, and you can see they fit like this. Imagine that being a triangle form there. And so that's the way it goes. The blue sky faces towards the flower, the Waggle Dance faces away. Same here, and that will complete that Buttercup block. So, whizzing along, moving on now to chapter 3. Hope you're still sitting comfortably. We're now going to look at this daisy block. Now there are 8 daisies in this quilt. 4 are complete daisy blocks and 4 are partially complete daisy blocks. So we're going to call daisy block A the complete daisies, and I'll show you how we do those. So when daisy block A is complete, it'll measure 13 inch. It's a 13-inch block. And what you need to do on the outside on D here is to add a 1 3/4 inch strip. So D is very easy. Again, we're working now in 1 3/4 inch squares, so, or half square triangles. So it's a little bit fiddly. So we start off with A, which is a 3-inch square turned into a variable star, and we have 1 3/4 inch squares on the outside. So we have 4 blue in the corners, and we have these little points in yellow and blue. So these are 1 3/4 inches, those squares. So moving on to B, again, all 1 3/4 inch half square triangles or squares. And you need 4 blocks like that. So you've got a blue triangle and white on the outside. There are 4 1 3/4 inch squares for the cornerstones. And then there are 8 1 3/4 inch white and green squares, and they start the forming of the leaf here. So we arrange that in that formation. So moving on now to C here. So it's the tips of the leaves and the tips of the white petals in this block, and again they're all either 1 3/4 inch squares or 1 3/4 inch triangles. So we start off by creating 4 blocks where we join 2 of the white triangles together to form a peak with a blue sky in the background. And then we need 8 of the half square triangles in blue and green, and they're the leaves, tips of the leaves next to the flower points. And then we arrange those always in a zigzag again. So we're going zigzag up and down, and then we have the corners, which are all the same in blue. And that forms C. And like I say, D is just a 1 3/4 inch strip that fits around the outside to give you a 13 inch block. Moving on now to daisy block B, which is the partially completed daisy block. You need 4 of these. These are the partially completed ones, and you construct those exactly the same as daisy block A. It's when you get to C and D that things alter, because you're going to lose one side of the points and one side of the blue, because that falls into the buttercup block. But you still need to make these missing links here. And the way I've constructed those is to make the points like we did last time, 1 3/4 inch squares. And this is a strip, 1 3/4 inch wide, that fits along the top. So you've got a 3-inch deep strip. Set those aside. You need 4 of those. Don't join any sides to them yet. And then you need a 3-inch blue square, and you need 8 of those. Set those aside. And then you need 4 3-inch half square triangles with a waggle dance and the blue sky. Set them aside. We'll need those later when we put this section onto the buttercup block. So I think we're on chapter 5 now. So we've got the buttercup block, and what I did was I lay those 4 on the floor together and made sure that the outside corners were where they should be. So 1 bottom left, 1 bottom right, 1 top left, 1 top right, so that you had the inside here and the waggle dance in the corners there, so that when you fit the missing link in, you need to have one that matches along there. So you've taken that piece here and you've joined a blue block, the waggle dance half square triangle block, and a blue on the outside. And then obviously on the other side, that will be on the inside here. So you'll start with the petals, then it will move to the blue, then it will be the waggle dance, and then an outside blue, so that everything fits as you're coming along. So you've got 4 missing links that fit on those, ready for to join up when you do the partial daisy blocks. Chapter 6, we're looking at the central panel of the waggle dance. So we've got half square triangles again that measure 3 inches, and I chose to put the dark blue, the same as the central sunflower here, and this is the Waggle Dance fabric on the outside. And then I just created this shape with a double blue on the bottom. So you need 4 of those strips complete, and then you need 36 more 3-inch half square triangles in the sky blue and the Waggle Dance. You will also need some 3-inch strips of blue fabric or background fabric, and I'll show you where you will use that. Chapter 7. So we're going to assemble now the top panel and the bottom panel. And so you've already joined your missing link onto the Buttercup block here and on the other side, and the same on the top. So you set them aside, and then you take daisy block A and you add the bottom part of the Waggle Dance, and that fits in that direction, and the same there. So you're joining up those half square triangles in the sky blue and the Waggle Dance, and you make those shapes. They're all 3 inches, and then you join that central panel of the Waggle Dance. So you have a big block in the centre, and then you add a 3-inch, I ironed that then, and then you added a 3-inch wide strip which is 30.5 inches long, and that fits along the bottom. Once that is in place, you can add your buttercups on each side. For chapter 8, we're looking at the side panels, and that again is the daisy block, but it's only the partial one, remember, that's missing, that's gone off to the buttercup panel, so it's not quite as wide, and so you haven't as much Waggle Dance to add to the bottom, and that's the direction that should be falling in. So you add your Waggle Dance to the bottom of each daisy block, and then you can add your central panel, iron it all, and you add a 3-inch wide strip which is 25.5 inches long, and you need 2 of those, and then we're ready for assembly. So the final part of assembling the quilt, I've forgotten which chapter we're on now, sorry, is you take the central sunflower block and you add the side panels first of all, and then you add your top panel and the bottom panel, bearing in mind that you've got these little bits of petals that have to match here, but that's all really. So it did take a while because there's a lot of small pieces, but I hope that's helped. I know it's not a pattern, but tell me what you think. I don't know if I'm going to do it again. Anyway, best wishes everyone. Take care. Bye.